Welcome back. This update, I put a lot of time into the Walthers Refinery, and about half of the time that I spent on that model has been trying to figure out what part goes where. Instructions could have been written a lot better, so I'll point a couple of those things out, what I've done. Another one, talk a little bit about background buildings. Nobody that I find manufacturing, if you've got a link to somebody that does some buildings that are about a half-inch deep, I'd sure like to know about it. And the other one, I had a strange problem that's been occurring for the last few months with my GP38 Atlas unit in one of my turnouts, and it seems like it would short for a little bit and then it would come back. So I'll kind of cover what I did on that, and I'd like to get your response. So let's get to the update. I've gotten the fascia completed for the layout in this control panel. Plastic is cut for it, and I have to start assembling that portion of it. And we're still working here, get a little more of the track laid, and I think I've got this kind of laid out the way I think I'm going to do it. The plans always change. Got the loading terminal pretty much completed. I still have to add some material to the loading dock area. But going to call this one pretty close to being done. Going to move on to working on the refinery area. And then once that's, we know exactly the size there, then we'll work on getting this track laid up into this area. Pretty much have come that I'm going to just lay this area in here out as a town. And one thing, they don't make any background buildings. What I'd like to do is put some buildings. Here where I live in LaGrange, Kentucky, the train goes right down Main Street. And I would like to try to recreate a little bit of that by putting some buildings back in this area, and just enough for a car to park. And then on this side here, a small area, kind of a courthouse and some shops around that area. So we'll see where we can go. So if anyone knows background buildings that are only a half-inch thick, I actually sent a little email to Woodland Scenics for some of their DPM. Why don't they make those in background type buildings the same way they make the full building? They could save a little styrene and make them background. Anyway, we'll see what happens. Thought I'd take a few minutes here and comment about the North Island Refinery by Cornerstone. Once again, very well done. Instructions say read very carefully. Got a little bit of a chuckle. Explains everything about a refinery and how it works, but there's nothing about how it's put together. So just pictures. If the pictures are good, kind of give you the group that you need to put them together in. And some of these places there are some different numbers, and that there's a different number because there is a difference in the mold, and I'll kind of point those out on some of the parts that I found. But anyway, instructions are strictly pictures, and how you put it together, the order, that's kind of up to you. I'll give you a few pointers on that. One that I would do if I was going to build this kit again, in the first part of the steps they talk about, they build the smokestack here, the chimney. And I would not put this top section on. I would wait to the very end, assemble the rest of it. It just gets in the way. knocking it over. A couple of the parts that are a little bit different is this front flat piece in here, along with the back one. It's really no biggie. It's just a little bit different mold. They both fit the same. Had a 50-50 shot, and of course I got it on there correctly, but what happened was the side pieces that hold this chimney here, they do actually, there's a small hole here, and those are supposed to go toward the front, and I got them toward the rear. It's no showstopper, but I didn't realize it until I actually started looking, and it was all glued together, and go from there. So that's kind of where look at the parts closely. If there's a different number, there's a reason that there is a different number there. Okay, I've pretty much got the furnace area done. I've got one or two little things to add to it, but I'm going to do that later. I'm going to move on to the piping for the refinery. And what you have is a left side and a right side, and those two sides are joined together by all the larger piping that goes in between. I found by taking these before I mount them, taking and cleaning out these ends just to make sure they sit flat on the piping. I took a countersink, give it 2 or 3 spins in there just to kind of clean out any flashing that's in there, and then glue them onto one side as we come down. Once I have all 8 of those put in, I will take the other half and put it in there, lay it on top, and glue that together. One of the problems is that there's a framework that has to go inside of all these tubes. I have part of the framework over here, a series of U-shape with a side runner on each side, and these have to sit down inside of this area, and then you have to put the top on. So that is, maybe I'll show it over here. Your left side, kind of right side, and then you have this framework that goes down that the overhead piping sits on top of. So we've gotten the main piping section put together, and have a little more detail work to go on this, but not much. We'll get ready to assemble that on the base. You also have a pipe rack that fits down inside of this area here, and once you have that mounted, then the top of the piping goes on. With that, that has to all get mounted on a base here, and I want to coat this base with some fine gravel, or make it not look so plasticky, and blend it in with the scenery when I get ready. So we're gonna put some fine sand, light gravel down on that, and then build the piping section up. And the last update here, really becoming a challenge. With all these platforms, and I only have about half of them on this unit so far, the instructions just don't point them out very well exactly where they go. They give kind of a nice layout here, but they don't number the platforms. So you have to kind of watch where you put them. Another one I'll point out real quick is that item number 50. They don't even show it. It is a pipe, and that pipe actually goes in this area right in here. They don't even show that on the diagram. Took a bit. I actually found a picture from someone else that had built this same model, and that really helped out. So I'm going to put this aside for a little while. I've spent so much time on it that I'm going to move on to something else, and we'll probably have this completed in the next update. So good luck. For the last few months, my GP38 Atlas locomotive has always been having a problem with this one turnout. And I finally narrowed it down to when the turnout was in this position, it would get into this area right in here, and it would short out, hesitate. I'd have to touch it just a little bit, it would start back up and it would continue on. The turnout was in the other position, I had no problem with the train going across it. Finally used my wheel gauge, and the wheels were 99.9% correct, but just maybe a little bit too narrow. And my cure was, I took a piece of Scotch cellophane tape, very, very thin, maybe a 32nd of an inch wide, and I put a small piece in this area, right in here on the inside of this rail. And sure enough, my problems had stopped. I didn't want to try to separate the wheels, although I did contact Mike Pfeiffer, and I really got to throw some props out to him. I've asked him a couple questions now. He comes back with an answer very, very quickly, and he kind of told me how to move those wheels out, maybe a few more thousandths. But I'd already had messed up one engine, my Rapido, and I had to send it back to him. So this is working for me. So I'm going to leave that piece of cellophane tape in there to insulate just the inside of this rail. And let me know what you think about that, or should I go ahead and slip a screwdriver in there and try to move the wheels out, separate them. All I need is probably 4 or 5 thousandths more, and it would make those wheels exactly correct. This brings this update to a close. Next update, I hope to have the refinery completed and the freight terminal in place, and get that track laid over on that far side. Start working on the control panel. So once again, thank you very much for watching. If you have any source for buildings, background buildings, appreciate that. And once again, Mike Pfeiffer, I'm amazed at send you an email and you answer me so quick and give me some good recommendations. Everybody have a great day. We'll see you next time.